The Flash, episode 4, technically episode 1, Central City Strong. So, for this episode, it takes place maybe about a week or two after the events of defeating the Mirror Matriarch, or whatever she called herself. So, the entire Team Flash, besides Iris, they're all down, because the city was in shambles. Like, Mirror people took over, people got snatched up, buildings got destroyed. Team Flash, the Star Labs, they're out there, like, they're helping rebuild the community. The same reporter, the same black woman that interviewed Eva McCullum, she's back on the show, so I see she'll be a reoccurring character from a reporter standpoint, which is kind of weird because Iris is a reporter, but and it should be Iris doing those news reports. But anyway, so she's doing an interview, she's talking to the Flash. Flash gives a speech about how, he apologized to the city for not stopping the Mirror Matriarch. I'm just gonna call her the Mirror Master, about not stopping the Mirror Master sooner. And, he was like, but don't worry, people. He was just like, I'm here for you. We ended up saving the day. The people are back and the Flash won't let you down. He was like, we're stronger together. Central City's strong and, we're gonna rebuild, so don't worry about it. But he takes off and then everybody else is talking. So Cisco is there. Chester P is there. Like, Chester actually got a promotion. He works for Star Labs officially now, but he also works for the CCPD because, Cisco got a job with the CCPD as a consultant when it comes to like metahuman affairs. Chester's basically I guess Cisco's intern, and then eventually like both of them will be doing the job together. So now the night before, Barry had came in and he had brought Iris like some special pizza or some special flowers, grapes or something from all over the world, because he's pretty much trying to apologize to her over and over because he feels guilty about living with Mirror Iris and not being able to tell that it's her. There's an earthquake that happens in the city, and then when the earthquake happens, everybody's just like, oh, I hope it's not another issue. It's not another issue. And, they're kind of like freaking out a little bit because they're just like, we just got over the mirror thing. We don't want, we don't want any new problems to come up. And then we get the villain of the week, Cadabra, Abracadabra, the magician, tech magician from the future. He returns to Central City and he kills a man. Team Flash, like, they investigate, they do the crime thing, they find out that it's him. And, they're just like, oh, he's from the future. Like, why is he here? Like, why is he coming back? So they're just like, well, we got to investigate. We got to find out. They ended up, they ended up finding him because he killed one dude. And then he went to go pull off another job. And then, the Flash, he went down there. He went down to talk to him. Cisco showed up. And when Cisco showed up, he has like, because I even said in the last episode when they fought the Mirror Master, Cisco basically built himself a vibe suit. And he's going out with Barry dressed up in this vibe suit. It has like gauntlets that can mimic, the vibe blast. He has the goggles on and everything. And I said it before, and I'm gonna say it again. If you were gonna go out there to help Barry, if you were gonna wear the vibes, if you were gonna build yourself a vibe suit, you should have just kept the damn powers. Because now he can do all the physical things, that he could do as vibe, but he can't vibe people's like memories. And I'm like, that actually would have came in handy, but it was just a stupid choice. He never should have got rid of his powers. But anyway, Cadabra looked at him. He's like, I see you finally become Mecha Vibe. And then he's just like, yo, did this fool just name me? Like Cisco Ramon. So I guess in the future, he's Mecha Vibe because he ends up keeping, like the whole mech suit. Team Flash engages. Killer Frost shows up. They freeze his wand. They knock him out. They put him into Argus custody. So after they kidnap Cadabra, and, they put him in Argus custody, Cisco, for some reason, had a huge problem with the fact that Argus was taking him into custody. And I don't understand, like, why it was a problem for him now when it was never a problem before. So he ends up going to talk to this one specific Argus agent. And then the guy that he's talking to, he's, like, very robotic, very matter of fact. He's just like, oh, are you taking, what do you call him? he called him some magic guy. And then he was just like, oh, that is not the person that we have. We have, Abracadabra into custody. And the way he was talking, like, he kind of sounded like, if you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., he reminded me of Enoch from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I thought was kind of weird. So we'll see what happens with that whole thing, because I don't know if those are aliens, if those are robots, or what kind of Argus mess is going on, but Lila should pop up at some point, and then we'll see what happens with that. But obviously that's a conversation obviously for later. So like I said, so Abra's in custody, Team Flash is celebrating, and they think it's all good. Iris now, she's been kind of struggling, ever since coming out of the mirror. She's trying to write an article, for her newspaper, the Central City Citizen, and she's struggling as far as what to say. Like, she's not really trying to put her experience into it, because she had Allegra come in and reread and read the article that she wrote, and Allegra told her straight up the shit was trash. She said the article was trash because she was like your experience, she said, you were the first person who ever got yoked up into the mirror aside from Eva McCullum. You lived in the Mirrorverse longer than anybody else. Why is it that nothing about your experiences in the article? She said all the other stuff that's in the article, we done seen that shit. People done seen that shit 50 million times already. So, so she was like, put yourself into it. So Iris, first she got tight because Allegra told her the truth. And then, she ended up trying to put something personal into it. Instead of sharing her own personal experience, she ended up going down to like a group, like a conversational group where people who were trapped in the Mirrorverse, they all got together, to share their experiences and to talk about their experiences and talk about her pain. So Iris wasn't really going there for herself. Because when Allegra told her you got to put other people, when Allegra told her you got to put yourself into the article, Iris' whole thing was, well, I'll just go find people that that had the experience and I'll put them into the article. So she goes down there, she's sitting with the person that runs the group, him and his wife. He talked about how he was trapped in the Mirrorverse and he had to watch his wife, hang out with the next dude, for a couple of weeks. And then Iris wanted to sit with him and the wife and have a conversation about their experience. Then she herself, she started kind of wigging out a little bit because she started having weird flashbacks. She started, having feelings about being trapped, seeing Barry with Mirror Iris. And then she just kind of spazzed out, and then she left, and she ran out the office. Team Flash is, they're they're chilling, they're celebrating, a job well done. And then they find out that Abracadabra broke out of Argus custody. Barry goes down there to snatch him up. And then when he goes to snatch him up, he sees that Abra wanted to go to Star Labs. He wanted to go to Argus because there was a device in Argus that he needed. So he got one device from someplace else. He got a second one from another place, and then he got the third one from Argus. And they were three obelisk looking devices. And when he put all three of those devices together, it formed this huge antimatter bubble. And he said that he was going to use the bubble to destroy Central City. So now, he disappears. He takes the bubble, disappears. Flash was just oh, I fell for the trick. He wanted to be captured. He wanted to go to Argus. I'm a fool. And then he gets mad and he's sulking in his own self-pity. And then Iris comes to talk to him. And then he's just I failed the city, a la Oliver Queen. And then she's talking to him. She's well, Barry, she was you can't put everything on yourself because, she was you can't hide from the pain. You can't hide from the trauma. And then she said that, she's hiding from the pain isn't how you're going to get over it. The only way you're going to get over the pain is to embrace it and push through it. And then a light bulb went off in her head, and she basically just gave herself her own advice, regarding her being trapped in the Mirrorverse. And then, Barry ended up getting an epiphany. He was just oh, he knows, because Iris was love and everything will lead the way. And then Barry was wait a minute, that's what his problem is. So earlier, Killer Frost had snatched a device from him, when they had the fight. When they opened the device, it had this little ring in it. And if you go back and watch episode 9, season 8 of Arrow, which was entitled Green Arrow and the Canaries, that was supposed to be the spin-off show with Mia Queen, Laurel Lance, and Dinah Drake. Laurel had the same ring device, and she used that ring device to give Mia Queen her memories back. Because again, after Crisis, everyone who wasn't a Paragon, they had their minds wiped and reset, into the new timeline. But that device gave everybody the ability to get their memories back. So Laurel had one, and she used it against Mia. And then we also saw at the end of the episode, somebody used it on JJ, but I guess, we'll never know what happened with that. They find out that Cisco actually had, Cisco, the one that Cisco made, that Abracadabra actually had it. And, and it was funny because when they asked, they were just well, Cisco, why would you make a device, that allows people to get their Crisis memories back? And then he was just well, there was a situation with Laurel Lance and Mia Smoke, and he's just you know what, don't even worry about it. And it was actually kind of cool that he even referenced that, it was I'm still hoping we get the Green Arrow and the Canary spinoff, but I guess we'll see. But he said that, the device, it's, because it's supposed to give you back your Crisis memories, they said that Cadabra went into the future or the past or wherever. He broke into the Star Labs museum, the Flash museum. He took the ring and he used the ring to give himself his memories back, because and then Barry went down to go confront him and try to stop him from putting the bomb off. And then Cadabra said to him, he told him that he came in contact with a speedster and he had speed particles or speed force, whatever. He came in contact with speed force, and and the problem was with his quote unquote magic powers mixed in with the Speed Force energy, he started getting like these weird memory flashbacks of like a woman and a child. And then when he went to the Flash Museum and he took that device and used it to restore his crisis, his pre-crisis memories, he realized that he had a family, like he had a wife, he had a child, and he said that because Flash didn't sacrifice himself in crisis, and a new timeline set in, the new timeline erased his wife and his son. So now he's pissed off because he's blaming the Flash. He's like, yo, you took my family away from me. He's like, you stole my family and I want my family back. So he's trying to blow up Central. I don't know. I don't understand like why he thought that was going to work. He ended up, his whole plan was to blow up Central City. And then that's when Barry, like figured out, because Barry said the same thing that I said. He was like, first of all, if you're trying to blow up the city, obviously you have no intention on trying to restore the timeline. He was like, because you think you're a genius, you think you're a scientist, you can't bring them back. You've already ran the numbers. You've already crunched the numbers. So if you've already realized you can't bring them back, you're basically just being petty right now and trying to kill everybody else in Central City just because you can't get what you want, and then he's just like, so what, like Central City will burn, and then Barry hit him with the Flash speech, he hit him with the traditional Flash speech where he was just like, like the ones that we lost are gone and we have to honor their sacrifice, we can't condemn, we can't tarnish their memory. And then he said, what do you think your wife or your son would say when they find out that you murdered an entire city in their name? He was like, they wouldn't be proud of that, and then he talked him off the ledge, and then Cadabra felt bad and he stopped the bomb and with 1% left to go, and then the Flash saves he saves the day like always. And then they actually hit a really cool line, because when Cadabra stopped and then he realized Barry wasn't going to lock him up or arrest him, he was just like, I don't understand. He was like, he said, in the future, you and I are like mortal enemies. He's like, why are you being so nice to me now? And then Barry stuck out the hand of friendship, and he was just like, well, I'm hoping if you and I can shake hands today, when we meet in the future, we won't be enemies. And then Cadabra was like, you know what, I can mess with that one. And then right before they shook hands, another earthquake happened. So then we find out that the earthquakes that were happening, because Joe blamed it on Cadabra. He was just like, oh, because Cadabra said that's why we get earthquakes. Come to find out, there's like this really big monster, like troll-looking monster in Central City. And this monster was responsible for creating the earthquakes. And Cadabra and Barry together both tried to fight this monster. And unfortunately for Cadabra, he didn't survive. He actually tried to use the bomb that he was going to use to blow up Central City. He tried to use the bomb on the monster. The monster ended up absorbing the bomb. He knocked out Cadabra. He knocked out the Flash. He killed Cadabra. Cadabra actually died. And then he knocked out the Flash. And then suddenly the monster just kind of just like, ran away. So, and I find it very coincidental that the earthquakes don't happen during the day. So it may be a situation maybe where the sun goes, because obviously that's a human being. Obviously that's a human being that for some reason gets transformed into a monster. So my guess is like maybe when the sun goes down, like the moon turns that person like into a monster. We got monsters in Central City, y'all, because even in the coming attractions for next week's episode, there's some weird person in a nightmare mask giving people bad dreams. So we got ghosts and ghouls and monsters now on this season of The Flash, which has something to do probably with that, with that spectral Speed Force lightning that got shot out, like in the last episode. Like I said, but the monster left of his own accord. The Flash didn't defeat him. So I don't know what they did with Cadabra body, but they kind of like paid their respect to him for like, although he passed away, like they said that he died a hero, which was good. And everybody's kind of shook now because they don't understand how they're going to stop this monster or even what this monster is. But, they're Team Flash and, somehow they'll work it out. Iris ends up giving Allegra a real job. So she's no longer an intern. And then Iris, taking her own advice, she ended up going back, to the mirror force, like circle, and then she basically like spoke to the people and she told everybody her experiences. When she told everybody that she was there for 3 months, everybody was like, oh gosh, so Iris, like, in the midst of her writing the article for the people, she's also like, healing herself at the same time and coming to terms with her situation herself at the same time. So she walked off happy and she has some work to do emotionally and internally going forward. And then finally with Killer Frost, throughout the entire episode, Killer Frost was basically complaining that she had a headache. Kaitlyn was complaining that she had a headache. And, Kaitlyn ran tests. She said it was just a migraine. Cisco ran tests. They said something was wrong. But Killer Frost was sure that something was actually like wrong. So, they go through the episode, like they stop talking about the headache thing. And then at the end of the episode, Cisco's at the office, like fixing whatever it is he's doing. Kaitlyn comes in, and then he's just like, hey, what's really good with those headaches? And then she's like, well, the headaches are gone now, thankfully, but she's like, there's a problem. And then when he turns around, Killer Frost is there standing next to Kaitlyn. So now we got Killer Frost and Kaitlyn, and I don't know how that happened. Again, I feel it has something to do with the energy that got dispersed like into the city in the last episode. But I, for one, like, I'm excited that we have both of them, because even the episode, like if you go a couple of seasons back, the episode where Iris ended up getting speed, she got the speed because there was a metahuman who could transfer power from one person to another. And I always felt that they should have used that person's power on Kaitlyn to put Killer Frost into someone else's body, because the problem with having Killer Frost and Kaitlyn together, at some point, with them switching back and forth, trying to eat, both of them each trying to live a life, at some point, one of them's going to meet somebody. At some point, somebody's going to want a kid. Somebody's going to want to start a family. Like, they both, like, unless one of them just gives up having a life, both of them cannot exist in the same body together. So having them pulled apart, it's good because it allows both of them to find a life outside of the other. And I guarantee you, at some point before the season's over, most likely Killer Frost, but one of them is going to end up meeting a guy and falling in love before the season's over to justify why they shouldn't be put back together. But the reason of why they're put, like they got pulled apart to begin with, we don't know yet. But like I said, but we'll see in, obviously as the episodes progress. So thank you for tuning in. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about what's going on with the Flash, about these monsters. What about the Speed Force energy? When does Wells come back? Because we know Wells is coming back. And what's going on with with the double Kaitlyn situation. Also, go on my YouTube channel, check out my other videos. I got reviews for the Justice League Snyder Cut. 4 parts I did, for the Snyder Cut. I still got my Batman. I still got, Superman and Lois. Black Lightning's gone for a while. But like I said, we still have Batwoman, and other shows as well. And Supergirl comes back next week. So that's it, guys. So take care. And for The Flash, until next week, episode 5, I'm out this bitch.